Good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen. Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, for another jam-packed daily cryptocurrency market update. If you are new to this channel and finding yourself on my videos for the first time today, don't forget to check out that subscribe button because we drop an update just like this one every single day at 1 p.m. UK time or around then to help you guys stay up to date with the latest and greatest things happening within the crypto space, but also the broader markets. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing in this video. This video is predominantly going to be a technical assessment of the markets. We're going to be looking at the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory to kick things off, Bitcoin on a bigger time frame, and then we're going to be dropping it down to perhaps give some kind of confirmation that what we're looking at the bigger time frame is playing out and likely to play out on the smaller time frame. We are going to be looking at some crypto-related stocks, which we are bullish on, which ultimately support our overall view on the cryptocurrency market. We might dive into things like Bitcoin dominance, others dominance, and the altcoin. So this is going to be, and I thought we'd spend this daily market update really assessing the market from a technical point of view. There isn't a great deal of news circulating right now in regards to the crypto space, or news that I thought was worthy of putting in here. When there is news we think that's worthy, we will cover it. But I think it's kind of a bit of a lackluster, other than Bitcoin getting back to 44K, which we were expecting based on smaller time frame patterns. That's going to align with our bigger time frame pattern that we think could take Bitcoin to around about 150K. And we've looked at cross markets. We'll do a little bit of that in this video to also support our thesis on Bitcoin doing very well, and also the macro environment, the Forex markets, you name it, we've done it. So without further ado, guys, let's dive into the video. And let's start things off, as I had outlined at the start, with the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory that centers around the halvening. And you can see the vertical lines that we have that are titled the halvenings are when the halvenings occur. And I believe we are around about 70 days away from the halvening. And this chart, quite frankly, is remarkable to me. No, this is not Plan B's failed stock to flow model that he's now made a resurgence from. I'd like to see his P&L off the back end of all of that. Although the interesting thing with, I am not in the hodler mentality, but with Bitcoin, it's worked quite simply. Yes, you'd have had to eat 60, 70% dips, but over the long term, really you can be long Bitcoin, short the fiat systems. But this 4-year cycle theory chart is just remarkable to me, given how accurately it's played out, given where you've interacted with your fib levels at that 0.618 each time, just like we're doing today. And this gives me some kind of a confidence that this is going to continue to play out. Certainly everything that we're looking at technically, economically, cross-market wise, all aligns with essentially post-halvening being a good time for Bitcoin. This is kind of, I guess, one of many confirming factors in regards to what we're looking at. Let's now dive over to Bitcoin. This is the plan. In the same manner that this was the plan down here, and we were looking at a 42K Bitcoin, we are now looking at potentially this playing out, and we've shown so many examples of this exact technical pattern playing out and playing out repeatedly. Others dominance is a perfect example of it. Lots of altcoins, I believe, are just kind of at this stage here. But we essentially are waiting for this to play out. And we did say it was likely you were going to get a shallower right shoulder. We were first looking at this weekly candle and how it closed. We were also looking against Bitcoin that we thought was going to gain relative strength. And potentially that was going to cross over into the Bitcoin dollar chart in regards to Bitcoin against the SPY, Bitcoin against the NASDAQ, and Bitcoin against gold. Now, I think the SPY, the NASDAQ, the SPY made our target for it the other day that we set out in 2023. Going into 2023, we were looking at it 2022. But you can see that Bitcoin's bullish against other assets, not just the dollar, and we're bullish on those assets that it's against. Everything, going back to the 4-year cycle theory and what's kind of projected to play out based on that, technically is aligned. And we did look at a smaller pattern for Bitcoin. So despite the dollar strength, you had this head and shoulders. This dotted line is the technical target that we had from the head and shoulders that we had in 2023 that ultimately got met. It's interesting how you've got this smaller head and shoulders, and the target for this is 45,600. And I actually think that this is really going to close the gap on what is looking very likely to be the end of this right shoulder. So this was the start of the right shoulder. You know, target was met. You squeezed here. You broke up. You've now come back. You've had a pullback. You've formed sort of squaring up, bottoming out structure. It's given you a projected target to the upside. And now you're looking to take this. Once you take that neckline, hopefully it's with momentum. I think this right shoulder has just been an opportunity for institutions to buy. You know, you then are looking at playing this pattern out. And that, I think, is what we're all hoping for. Altcoins are going to do well in that environment to switch us over to Bitcoin dominance. I do expect Bitcoin dominance to roll in the same fashion that it has on every bull and bear market. It's going to be interesting to see because there may be a little bit more persistency with it based on the ETF news. But this is being stubbornly strong for me. I did say I thought the right shoulder for Bitcoin would also have an element of Bitcoin dominance waning. Bitcoin dominance waning is actually bullish for Bitcoin. It's just more bullish for altcoins, of course. And in a bull, Bitcoin dominance goes down, in a bear, it goes up. So if Bitcoin dominance is going up, typically that means that the altcoins aren't doing that well. And that could also mean that Bitcoin isn't doing as well. Also, if you look at the kind of reaction there. So this is absolutely something to watch. Others dominance is another thing that we watch and are watching. Again, small sort of what Bitcoin did and now what Bitcoin's doing. And this is supporting right around support. You know, that's what it's there for. And we can show you a million and one examples of these patterns playing out. If I was to describe myself as a technical analyzer, I would say I'm a classic technical analyzer. I'm very much a believer in the tried and proven patterns playing out and not the kind of YouTube take on them, the ones that were sort of founded by people before me that saw validity in them. There's fundamental reasoning behind why these patterns play out in the manner they do. And ultimately, you know, that's where we derive a lot of our market analysis from. So others dominance also is supporting the top 10, excluding the top 10, you know, moving up to 20% of the overall market share. That's not going to happen in an environment Bitcoin's going down. So a little bit of confluence there. Let's talk about crypto stocks. Coinbase was a killer for us. We had a target that literally ran here at the $183 market, just like we were predicting for Bitcoin and the stock market and all this sort of stuff. And you can see what Coinbase is doing. This is very classic. You broke out of here on volume, not massively amplified like this one of this neckline was broken out of, but still amplified. You break, you come back for a retest, you're finding support exactly where you'd expect to do so. And we now believe something like Coinbase is going to $436. Bearing in mind, me and my Patreons were accumulating this at 30-40. You know, so done very well. Think it's going to do even better. And that's a 10x from a stock. You've also got things like the miners. This is Mara. You can see it did the exact same thing in the previous cycle. And actually the target for that was basically where you ran into trouble. And you can see just how significant that is. The same thing is likely to play out again today. And this is going to be supportive of a good Bitcoin environment. MicroStrategy had their earnings yesterday and they weren't great. Not because I'm not highlighting that because I'm not the biggest fan of Michael Saylor. I'm more highlighting that because they just simply weren't great. Despite that, there's a lot of talk about them being a viable alternative to a Bitcoin ETF. He may have the whole Bitcoin is freedom brigade behind him. And I think that's, you know, something to watch, but our target for MicroStrategy is very, very close to being hit. Fell a little bit short of it here. Same pattern that we're looking at for Bitcoin, same pattern that we're looking at for those stocks, crypto stocks. Everything points in the right direction. The only thing that I think is being a little bit counter trend to what we're looking at as a whole is the dollar, which is doing very well. Remember, we did have a target for the dollar in a similar fashion to what we're looking at for Bitcoin. Didn't quite get hit. This is beautiful rounding structure as well. Strong dollar's typically not good for risk. And I think there's a lot happening in the sort of geopolitical space that is spurring on the dollar somewhat. So definitely something to watch. We want the dollar to roll. Remember, we've got a broader thesis on the dollar. We, or me personally, am not in the higher rates camp. I think inflation is counter to that, suggesting that rates are going to go higher. I think that yields are potentially suggestive. I think what we're looking at on the dollar from a technical point of view is suggestive that rates don't go up, they actually go down. And I don't think I think you are going to get rate cuts this year. We have said it's not going to be to the magnitude that people have expected it to be. And I think we've been right on that. But you will get them, in my opinion. I'm not in the rate spike camp. I just don't think that. I think that is suicide, quite frankly, for the monetary systems, and I don't think they're going to do that unless they have need to do that. And the argument, and I think it's a very, very good argument, that they need to support the bond market. You know, you need those high rates to support people buying bonds. Well, no one's buying bonds right now anyway. I think the Fed has to step in and be the buyer of last resort, otherwise the system collapses. And fiat systems always collapse from the rugs getting pulled beneath them, kind of like Ponzi schemes that we see in the crypto space. So we are nothing short of bullish. We're not going to dive into altcoins, although we have given individual price predictions for many altcoins at the moment based on a number of things that we've just looked at with you guys in this video. That is really all I've got for you. Sometimes I like to kind of take things back and be a little bit rudimentary and just look at, you know, very simple, basic technical analysis and spend these daily markets doing that to give a broader thesis on where we think the markets are going. And Bitcoin is largely central to all of that. The other things that we're looking at, whether that be crypto stocks, dominance, you know, Bitcoin against other markets, all point to the right, to a good direction. We do go a lot more in detail on this all in the Patreon, but that's really all I've got for you guys. If you've enjoyed this content, a like is greatly appreciated. So is a comment, and I hope to see you all in the next daily market update. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.